Hello and welcome to the 88th edition of Marex Maritime News. The headlines Monday, the 18th of October 2021. Well-being of crew is essential during post-incident investigation. Rising energy costs stoke inflation and curtail economic recovery. GEARBULK uses more efficient electric jib crane. INTERFERRY reveals ferry industry's huge economic impact. Expert report on demolition market. We must not forget the well-being of fellow crew members in the aftermath of an onboard incident that led to a series of fatal injuries, especially when there is potential to reopen emotional wounds during an investigation, say North the NIS clubs, Ross Wedel and Alvin Foster. They further explain people's reaction to an incident vary. Some may be connected to the events that led to the incident, while some may witness the accident unfold or see its results. Others may have had to take action, such as administering first aid, and others still may be affected by being exposed to the emotions and reactions of their colleague. In an investigation, these feelings can be reignited if not handled with care. We are all humans and we must recognize the impact a serious incident and its subsequent investigation can have on everyone, not just the injured parties.
So, shipping is a high risk profession and incidents are bound to happen, many a times due to human error. And we have found that incidences like man overboard or a fatal injury on board, death on board during an operation, or even sometimes unusual death of someone on board. So, these all incidences have a major impact on the crew who are sailing aboard. Recently, just to share an example, we had an incident on board where the master was found dead in his cabin in a very unusual circumstances. So the crew had to do the first aid to check whether he was alive. Unfortunately, he was dead. And the port was around 4 days away, so carrying the body to the freezer, maintaining its body during that time was very difficult for the crew on board. In fact, some of them also experienced post-traumatic stress disorder, which we know it as PTSD. And they were so scared that they were not willing to sleep alone. So two people started sharing rooms together. Some of them could not get sleep at night and they could get hallucinations or they felt disoriented as well. So when an incident happens, it definitely has a major impact on the crew. And so it's very important, I would suggest that when such incidents happen, a round of counseling should be catered to all the crew on board so that they are able to express, vent out their emotions and do not keep it bottled up in them. It's very important to reduce their anxiety levels and also fear of being safe and secure on board. And this is one thing which they do feel when an incident happens, that how secure and safe we are when we are carrying out ship operations. So I think looking into the well-being of seafarers, it's extremely important that post any incident there should be a protocol where companies must have counseling sessions for their crew in order to help them cope with that situation and to gradually erase the memory of such an incident.
Crew members can be subjected to various kind of stresses on board during and post an incident. Some of that could be related to the investigations that may be carried out post an incident. North of England P&I Club, they have mentioned that in their report that the crew well-being should be paramount when an investigation is being carried out. And ISON fully supports this report because the seafarers may be, every human being, they are different in nature. They may react very differently to any problem or any crisis when it happens on board. And therefore, their mental health could be at stake when they are going through any kind of such crisis. They may feel helplessness. They may feel that they do not know whom to seek support because there are a lot of barriers that they could not approach any organization or any person on board ship as well. And there could be issues which related that they are confused. They have anxiety, and the stresses which comes about them because they may feel that they're going to be targeted or they're going to be finger pointing on them could also lead to a kind of a situation where the CFAs do not understand that how to deal with that situation effectively. A good communication plan and a good crisis response management plan by the company can help in addressing some of these issues on board ship. It is always essential that the interviewee, when they do the investigations on board, makes sure that the seafarers' mental health as well as they have been looked after well, and they do not face any kind of that questions which are been thrown to them do not try to exaggerate the situation wherein they feel reluctance to take part in such investigations. It is if the seafarer also feels that they need support, they can seek support from their fellow colleagues on board, and we should all look after them and should try to emphasize that their well-being is that could be at stake during a post investigation during post incident period. We should also remember that after an incident, some of the seafarers may need a longer term support, and the family liaison officer may play a very important role in ensuring that the seafarers are looked after well when they reach home, and they've been taken care of, they've been guided well on their future life. It is also essential that the seafarers understand that when they are in port, they can also seek the support of other welfare organizations, such as the Christian-based charities who are present in the ports, and may seek emotional support from them as well. If the seafarers would need any kind of support from the Seafarer Helpline, which is available 24/7, 365 days a year, it's multilingual and is also confidential in nature, they can seek emotional support from the helpline as well. We are very pleased to work with the North of England P&I Club, as we also manage the Mind Call, which is operated for the seafarers.
Power prices have surged to record highs in recent weeks, driven by shortages in Asia and Europe, with an energy crisis in China expected to last through the end of the year and crimp growth in the world's second largest economy and top exporter. China on Tuesday took its boldest step in a decade-long power sector reform, saying it will allow coal-fired power plants to pass on high cost of generation to some end users via market-driven electricity prices.
What a timing for different sectors of economics to come together and put the consumers in a corner. Well, shipping is a derived demand, we say, but in the current scenario, it looks like the high freight rates because of shortage of ships or catch up of backlog after the pandemic. We are in a zoom, not a boom. But the scenario ashore of power controls, well, political power as well as electric power, so to say, with shortage of coal, consumption shooting up, environment issues, and the related things put together, I think citizens are at loss. Industries are not sure how to budget, how to cost. As you know, in economics, costing is one of the simple but more difficult things. When you look at supply and demand and then try to project, if cost is not known, it's almost impossible to price your product. So taking all these fundamentals into account, where are we headed with the energy industry? Well, it can be as simple as saying the environmentalist has the upper hand. Coal cannot be sustained. There are not much alternatives immediately. Forget the sailing ships and different fuels and concoctions of them being tried out. What matters ashore is if we are not going to go nuclear, then I think solar energy is the only one that remains. Now, are we up to speed on that? Not sure about it. Now, another issue is power shortage in production and also low tariffs as politicians try to subsidize to poor people. Mind you, that subsidy and supply is necessary to digitalize the world, especially a huge country with villages in India. We need cheap power and very cheap supply. That's another issue. But the main thing now is how do we sort out these matters in a short period, let's say 3 months, not even 6 months or 1 year. That begs the question, are we driven by demand, cost, or policies? Or in the end, will environment issues decide? Or is it a question of the developed versus the developing and underdeveloped?
International shipping company GEARBULK has contracted Norwegian Electric System AS to provide the battery format for a new crane to be installed on board the general cargo vessel EMU Arrow. GEARBULK has actively advocated for increased global regulations of CO2 emissions in the shipping industry. This crane conversion, along with the installation of a containerized battery system, is one of many activities we undertake to both ensure an even more efficient running of our fleet, as well as reducing our impact on the environment to a minimum, says Ketil Anderson, Managing Director at GEARBULK. INTERFERRY has revealed startling statistics on the far-reaching extent of the global ferry industry's value to the world economy. Research into the latest pre-COVID full-year figures found that in 2019, ferries carried 4.27 billion passengers on par with aviation and 373 million vehicles across a worldwide fleet of 15,400 vessels. Among other findings, the industry provided 1.1 million jobs, contributed $60 billion to the world GDP, and represented approximately 20% of shipping's economic value to the European Union. INTERFERRY CEO Mike Corrigan comments, "We already knew that the ferry segment punches well above its weight. It comprises only 3 to 5% of the total shipping industry, but the scale of the findings surprised even seasoned insiders." Now, our demolition market report, direct from our expert.
As far as the demolition market is concerned, we are seeing a consistent linear upward trajectory for the last few months, and we expect the same trend to continue in the short term at least. With scrap prices at all-time high and a shortage of commodity prices in the market worldwide, the prices that we are fetching in Alang are consistently at near 580 to 600 levels. Bangladesh and Pakistan consistently continue to aggressively bid on quality tonnages, and there seems to be healthy competition going on in the recycling industry for now. So in the near term, or at least in the next 2 quarters, we don't see prices going down any moment.
The ship recycling rates, the rates at which they are being sold, are going phenomenal. And one thing which is a concern for the Indian ship recyclers, who have spent a lot of time in making their yards in some shade of green, that they are not getting a suitable price for this investment in safety and environmental compliance, which is much above the neighboring countries. So even though the rates are going up, they are uniform and they are going for all the countries, but certainly the sad part is that even the green ship recycling yards who have performed well are still not getting a good enough discount to give a better challenge to these markets.
Stay safe, stay healthy. Thank you for watching. See you next Monday.